Gavin Grayson, The Power of the Presidency. The politician I have created, Gavin Grayson, some of his concerns include the evolution and current extent of the powers of which the United States president holds. A division of governmental powers is there to ensure that a president cannot continue to enact his own agenda while holding the highest office in the United States. Gavin Grayson is a respected politician from the state of Virginia. Born in the mid-1960s, Grayson did not begin his political career until after he returned from service within the Air Force. Following his return, Gavin focused on developing his political background. He began as a local politician and rose to the ranks of congressman by the end of the 1990s. It was in the early 2000s that Gavin Grayson focused his attention on becoming the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Gavin Grayson maintained this position as a proud Republican until recently. Currently, Gavin Grayson is the Secretary of State for the United States. Gavin Grayson has maintained a Republican Party affiliation since he began his political career. The use of campaign funding, specifically campaign donations, has allowed for a middle-class Army veteran to level the playing field with his more prestigious competitors. Grayson advocates for the clear division of governmental powers as well as improved communication between the branches of government. Gavin Grayson promotes small businesses as well as big businesses, the growth of the United States economy, and the growth of the United States economy. Maintaining our economy allows for the United States to continue to provide its constituents with the lifestyles that they are used to. International trade regulations and agreements are a cornerstone of Grayson's political career. Gavin Grayson acknowledges the growth and powers held by the president and his cabinet. As the nation of the United States progressed, demands for new forms of governmental influence and accountability became desirable, even necessary at times. Grayson believes in the growth of the United States. He also believes in the purposes of the checks and balances and the division of governmental powers to help ensure that our legal system is efficient, competent, and just. Ensuring that the evolution of governmental powers is monitored, evaluated, and amended is one of the many purposes of Congress as well as the Supreme Court. Eric Posner stated in his article, Presidential Leadership and the Separation of Powers, that legal scholars, almost all legal scholars universally take a critical attitude towards the president and the leaders who commentators frequently judge as great, including Abraham Lincoln, Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, and Ronald Reagan. These guys receive the most critical attention. This is because those leaders turn out, with a few exceptions, to be the presidents who most frequently tread on the constitutional norms. This raises a paradox. How can our top presidential leaders also be major lawbreakers? Some of the governmental growth experienced in the executive branch, specifically the cabinet, is the number of departments and members held within the presidential cabinet. It has grown tremendously since the first establishment of a presidential cabinet. Today we have 12 additional departments as well as 8 additional cabinet members that are not heads of the past or current departments. The vice president is also a member of the cabinet. Under the judicial branch, there have been a series of changes since the first establishment of the Supreme Court. Individual states have always had the power to govern themselves, to set laws, and to hold the people accountable to those laws. Over time, the number of courts has increased. New laws have been and will continue to be implemented, which will also continue to be handled by state courts, if not federal ones. The federal court system has grown to handle cases that exceed state jurisdiction. Appellate courts were later established to handle the federal and state court appeals process. The Supreme Court shares the same intention as it had when it was first created by the Founding Fathers. One major difference is the increase from 6 Supreme Court justices to 9 Supreme Court justices. Under the legislative branch, you have Congress. Congress is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate has experienced growth, but the changes in power have not been as noticeable as with other portions of the government. Originally, there were 22 to 26 senators, 2 for each state. Today, with 50 states, the United States Senate is made up of a total of 100 members, maintaining 2 senators from each state, as the Founding Fathers originally set forth. Under the House of Representatives, changes that have been experienced are adjustments to the number of members. This has happened multiple times throughout history. The number of members in the House of Representatives represents the population of the United States, as well as the population in each of the states. Originally, there were 65 members of the House. By the 1800s, that number had increased to 135 members. In the year 1911, a law was passed allowing and limiting the members of the House to 435 members total. A few benefits of having a powerful presidential position, or having the presidential office have the powers that it has today, is improved governmental oversight. The growth of the cabinet has allowed for additional executive departments to be created that help to ensure agricultural concerns, environmental concerns, employee right concerns, equal rights concerns, and many other public concerns. A president with the executive authority is allowed to make quick and swift action in the case of emergencies and threats to the United States. The extensive cabinet has all the heads of all executive departments, 9 additional cabinet members and advisors, and, like I said before, the vice president. This helps to alleviate needs for bipartisanship between Congress and disputes between Democrats, Republicans, and other parties. This helps to improve the presidential understanding of the governmental powers between the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch, as well as federal and state governments. It helps to understand the people's needs, the nation's need, and international and national relations for trade agreements, peacekeeping, and team efforts. It also helps the president to ensure that he has adequate staffing and positioning for his executive orders or his executive orders to be carried out. Some of the cons to consider would be limitations to the powers of checks and balance in times of utmost importance. During emergencies, it's difficult for Congress or other parts of the government to interact with the presidential's decisions. There is a lack of bipartisan support or congressional support will undermine the presidential decisions or the powers that may or may not be abused. A tyrant or an ambitious president may abuse power. One person is publicly responsible for the decisions of a nation, and the president's powers conflict with military experience, Congress, and executive departments. In conclusion, the presidential powers have grown from what they once were when the Founding Fathers established the United States. In consideration to that, so have the legislative powers, judicial powers, and the need for additional and specific governmental organizations. A president maintains the powers of executive authority. The delegation of executive powers to the president's cabinet provides the president with insight and advice from each of the executive departments. Typically, unless there is an emergency, the president should have no need to brutally use their powers to maintain safety, peace, or freedom. When the time does require swift action, I believe that it is necessary to provide one man with the tools necessary to make a decision for that of a whole nation. A democracy is crucial, but differences of opinions and desires may delay the executive process of handling an emergency. From the book, The American Government, A Brief Introduction, it states, the heads of the cabinet departments and other major agencies are appointed by the president, subject to confirmation by the Senate, and not all governmental agencies are part of the cabinet departments. With this in mind, the president may appoint his cabinet members, but the Senate may remove them. Thank you.